Welcome to Startup Stories, where we go behind the scenes of some of the most interesting and innovative tech startups in the world. Each episode will bring you in-depth interviews with entrepreneurs and business leaders sharing their personal stories on success, failure, and everything in between. So whether you're an entrepreneur yourself or someone that's just generally interested in the world of startups, then Startup Stories is the perfect place for you to gain insight and inspiration into some of the most exciting players in the game. So sit back, relax, and join us on a journey of startup stories. Hi Vadim, thank you for joining me on the Startup Stories podcast.
Hello Jordan, thank you very much for inviting me.
My pleasure, Vadim. So of course, for the listeners, could you give a brief introduction onto who you are?
First of all, originally I'm from Russia, but live in Germany since half of my life. I have studied at Cologne, and afterwards I have worked at a lot of software engineer, different companies, different tech stacks, all have tried out different worlds. And then I went more and more like in the management path. So I have built up a couple of teams. I was also responsible for product and product management, but then came back to engineering. So software engineering is my world. And it's not just technology, but especially also organizations and building up the teams and people. And now I'm at a company named GotPhoto. It's a SaaS product for photography businesses, and I'm CTO of the company.
Excellent. So as you say, you sit now as the CTO of GotPhoto, which is a fantastic position to be in. I know the business very well. I've seen them, for the last decade in the German market. But what I want to know is, I want to know about Vadim's background. Where did it all start? So how do I understand you the best way possible? And what I'd like to do is go back to your childhood from your earliest memory. Take me back to your childhood.
Yeah, I have spent my childhood in Russia, in Moscow, and was born in Moscow, and at the south of the city. It was, I think, pretty normal. So nothing special to remember. I was, I think, what I was always interested in decomposing different things to understand how they work. That's why maybe afterwards I came more in the engineering, software engineering world, just to think about and to grasp the complexity of the things. And I have also in my school we had different classes, different directions. So I was sometime also more on this direction of studying languages and literature, but then went more in the direction of actually financial economics. So it was always more like a generalist and interested in all the aspects of the things, and not being like focused on one thing. And I think it's influence still me in my career also.
So where did the influence for becoming a software engineer come from? Where did that start?
It's I think it's interesting, maybe a little bit unusual, because I started pretty late. So I written my first line of code as I was 19 or 20 years old, because actually first I wanted to go into the economics and financial management administration. I also started my studies back in Russia, but then I moved with my family to Germany as I was 19. And the first year I needed to organize a lot of documents, to translate them and so on, so I can continue my studies here in Germany. And while I was doing this, I just started somehow to look into the tech and how to develop the simple web pages. I don't remember anymore why, actually. I think I just found some article. It was pretty cool. I wanted to try it out. And then it went, has taken me over pretty quickly. I've started to make small web pages for me, for my friends, for anything. And then Then I learned a couple of programming languages, and then it was already the time to select the direction of my studies in the university, and then I have selected the combination of economics and informatics. And basically also within my studies, I have already started to work professionally. So this was my start.
What was the first programming language you ever used?
Basically, two of them, JavaScript for front-end development and PHP on the backend. Because I actually started this classical HTML and CSS just to create web pages, but then you find it pretty quickly that you need to add some dynamics. That's why JavaScript, and then later, but very soon, PHP came into the game.
Okay, so you've had quite the career in terms of being a software engineer for a number of companies, and now you're working, as we talked about, at GotPhoto. Tell me about your path from a software engineer or a senior software engineer into a sort of leadership position as a CTO for GotPhoto.
It was also, I think, not a straightforward path, yeah, because early in my career, I was actually enjoying the technology, yeah, so enjoying the coding. I have tried out a lot of different programming languages. Also, for example, I was not just developing web application, but also developing for enterprise resource planning systems, ERP systems, for some production companies. So I was just looking at the different types of technology, what I like, what I dislike, and then more or less I have selected the type of the companies or technology or types of applications that I like to work with. And but also, yeah, after this first phase, I have also understand, as I already talked about my childhood, that I'm more like generalist. I wanted always to look what else, yeah, how to make the best product, because even if my very first project, professional project, I just remember my emotions when the first orders came in, yeah. So this is for me was always the highlight. That's why at some point just looking at the technology alone was not enough for me, and I wanted to have something more. Yeah, and then I have started more to look at how to execute projects, how to organize teams. That's why I came first in my first team leadership positions, and afterwards. There are different types of leadership. Yeah, then I went more in the direction of technological leadership and software architecture. So I worked for two companies in these areas, where I was leading teams on strategy and software architecture, how to develop and how to go towards it, and how to bring our current systems towards it. And then in next steps, it was more and more than people and processes. So that means how to organize teams, motivate people, and select the right agile lean processes, actually also to deliver the best product. And then somehow all these different experiences that I have gathered, then afterwards I came. First started as a head of engineering at GotPhoto, then also became a CTO afterwards.
Yeah, and that CTO position is quite new. It's the last 8 months, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Nice, okay. So just to elaborate on GotPhoto, can you explain exactly what they do and what your role as a CTO contributes towards?
The mission of GotPhoto is to make photographers more successful. That means how we do it, we create a SaaS product for photographers, so we can help them to optimize and to make their businesses more efficient. So you must imagine most of the photographers, this is small companies or mostly freelancers, solopreneurs that do not have much resources to create own tech, yeah, to have own developers. That's why where we're good at is to understand the needs of photographers and to create a product that helps them really to drive more sales, more photo shootings, and so on. This is then GotPhoto, and my role is as a CTO. The company is mostly on the technology side, so I'm currently not responsible for the product, and it's about engineering, product engineering, internal IT, and data. This is then my areas.
Okay, so let's talk about engineering leadership. So what are the main points to be successful?
I think, the main point in engineering leadership is to understand like there are multiple areas of leadership. Where we need to invest time, what we need to look at. It's first of all, of course, the technology. Technological vision and management of the technology, then operations, so it organization of the teams and normal engineering operations, like running system, monitoring them, and so on. And the third one, the most important one, is actually the people, how to keep people motivated, and how to give them meaningful work, and taking care of them, and so on. So this is I think main three areas, and based on the current state of the company and the development phase where the company is, then you should invest in all of these areas, but based on your resources you can do one thing or another ones.
I like the third point you mentioned about the people. It's the most common topic that we talk about when I'm, talking to other companies. How do we keep people motivated? How do we maintain a good culture for a place where people want to work and are, feel like they're adding value not only to themselves from a career progression standpoint, but to the company? Are they contributing to something that they enjoy doing? All of those things, all those above things are really hard to make sure that they're all maintained, and satisfying the employees. So in order to make sure that you're keeping that balance, what's your engineering leadership strategy?
Our strategy is, first of all, as you have mentioned, of course, this is very complicated topics. And first of all, where actually they start, is people themselves. So there are, I think, maybe two main things that we need always to admit and be clear. First of all the people are different, and we can never expect everybody to be the same. That's why like some sort of simple policies or processes, they will never work for everybody. So that's why we already started this people first mindset, and we talk a lot to people in one-on-ones and trying to understand their views, their wishes, and so on. This is the first point. And the second point is what we see, which is very important for us, that we see that people almost always are intrinsically motivated. And that actually we cannot enforce or require this motivation. We can just be like shepherds for it. Given environment where this motivation can be there and can be increased. This is important. So it's very important to take care of the environment where people work in. But you can never ask for motivation. It will be created, and it will be born in the people themselves if they have a right environment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And it's just the beginning, of course. And actually, how we do it, it's a more complicated question. But let's start. First of all, people should know the purpose. So why we do the things. Here we start is not just engineering. You need to start the whole company. What is your mission and vision of the company? whom we're trying to help and why we exist. Yeah, this is already important that it's always clear to everybody, and that we use this word always. Yeah, and the experience shows it must not be something like let's save the whole world or something like this. Yeah, even just a normal, clear motivation for people is to help other people. For example, for us as helping photographers, yeah, and for a lot of people, it's very good motivation. It's clear why we do it, and we can apply it. And then the second, okay, it's a very high level, there's a vision. Then when we go down to different teams and individuals, it's also we need to always be clear, and it's a task of engineer leadership, explain what influence of people themselves on this vision, yeah, where they come into the game, and watch how they work pay into this general vision. And of course, for especially for software engineers, it's always important some sort of development. So we're trying also to map wishes of the engineers themselves, yeah, how we want to develop them, to our plans, how we develop the organization. So we see the matches and show the possibilities, how people can develop, what can they learn into this. And yeah, the third part, I think, also one of the most important part, again, it's the environment, so that we take care of trustful environment where everybody can ask questions, bring their ideas into it, but also where we have clarity around goals and processes or requirements. So I think this is where we invest time as engineer leadership.
Yeah, I love what you said about, having the one-to-ones. Everybody is different. Everyone has a different way of doing things. And I think that's a key ingredient to make sure that you have a successful team, that regardless of them being different, they can collaborate as one. And I think from what I've learned, talking to many companies, it's the ability to understand each individual's motivations, what they want to achieve in this role, whether it can contribute to something they want to achieve in their personal life, maybe a new house, or they want to do something different, outside of work. How can they get there in this current role by doing so, which could be a key motivator for them to progress in the business and reach financial goals, position levels in the business, grow throughout the ranks and stuff like that. So yeah, really good point. Yeah, I like that. So talk to me about, we talked about this before, but talk to me about handling monolithic applications and general architectural topics.
Yeah, it's also very big topic. What is the most interesting is actually the situation that the company have some sort of monolithic application or older one, yeah, because often people just set as equal monolithic as a legacy, yeah, which is not exactly true. It's the situation is very typical, yeah. So for every startup that is more or less successful and exists already since some years, yeah, you will come into the situation that you have maybe a monolithic application that is not so perfect for the future, yeah? So in most cases, yeah, people have like bad emotions around monolithic system, which should not be. It's actually just a normal development step of the company, yeah, because having a monolithic, what is monolithic system is the system where the whole code is in one repository, so always together, yeah. So and it's pretty natural because company starts very small. They have maybe just couple of developers, then two teams, and it's also according to Conway law, they just create one system that they own together. Yeah. And then when startup develops, then you have like 5 or 10 teams. Then you understand, okay, now it's time to do something with this monolithic systems. So the main goal to make just teams more independent from each other, because which can happen when you work on such systems. There's a lot of teams, they have depends because they started to adjust and edit the same code and can break things for each other. Yeah, and basically this is the main goal of monolithic systems, to refactored in this way that your teams can independently work in the future.
So you talked about how important people were earlier. Not only is it important to have good people in your team currently, so that the team can all get on, good chemistry, but also in terms of growing the company further, one person, one bad person can affect the whole environment. So when you're trying to hire, how do you make sure that you're hiring the right person as well? Talk to me about your hiring process.
Yeah, I think two things. First of all, how to hire the right people. It's also basically to look at the right things or the things that you need and require from your candidates in the interview process. Yeah. Plus, also involve the people that will actually work with this person. Yeah, because. For us, for our company, the culture is very important, and we know that people that are already working with us, we are sure, yeah, that they also are good representatives of our culture. That's why just facing candidates, a little bit, a couple of more people, it's already like filter on itself. Yeah, you see if people fit into the company or not. And then, of course, in the interview process, we need also to take care of candidate experience. That's why we're trying also to make it a little bit leaner. Yeah. So our process looks like so that we start this typical screening call from our recruitment team. Then we have for software engineers, we have a small home assignment for 1 hour, around 1 hour, just to develop one class, because for our phase of development of our engineering, it's important that people can structure the code pretty well, because we have already a bigger code base and also analytical system. So we especially search then for people that fit exactly in our current goals. And then afterwards we have a technical interview with two engineers mostly. So we have a pool of engineers that then do the interviews, always in pairs. And there we discuss a lot of technical questions, hard skills, but also we're checking for soft skills. This is also very important, yeah, what you have also asked for. So we look how it would be to work with this person. So some of the tasks that we have, some of the questions are actually less technical, but more just to look how you can together discuss different things. Yeah, so really look at this, and we see often it's very important for us that exactly in these areas people are pretty good on soft skills that they fit in our culture, and we can talk about the things very effectively. And the last step in the interview process is just meet the team call. And that means we get another two engineers that just talk to the candidate about anything, what they would like, and also give a bigger room for candidates to ask questions. And this is also more like cultural fit, but also from our side, it's a good possibility also to let candidates to talk to other engineers, and often it's also a very good selling point of us as a employer, because then when people talk to another people that will work on this, it's also very, very good, not just hiring manager, recruiting teams.
Yeah, I think the meet the team is the most important part of the recruitment process, personally, talking with other clients, because for two reasons. Obviously, the team that are going to be bringing this person in, they want to make sure they get on with that person and they're not going to create a toxic environment by joining the team. But also, it gives confidence in the person interviewing as well. Okay, this is the team I'm going to be working for. And often, from my experience, it solidifies the candidate accepting the offer, perhaps, because they've now met the team. There's full confidence. They've almost felt like they're working there without working there yet. So yeah, completely agree with that. When it comes to your hiring, what's the biggest roadblock you face when trying to find great engineers?
I think it's just also, there are always not enough candidates for the positions. Yeah, it's a, a challenge for everybody. We would like also to hire faster. Yeah. And we need also to invest a lot of time in sourcing the right candidates. Yeah, and which also help in that we can in the time after corona we're now remote first, yeah, so we're not just searching in Berlin, yeah, where our main office is, but also in the whole Germany, but also in other countries. And nowadays there are also a couple of services that make it easier to make relocation or to hire people also abroad. So, but I would still say, yeah, just not enough candidates that are free on the market or searching. I would like to have more.
Yep, the never-ending problem for both recruiters and for companies. Huge demand, limited supply. But yeah, I guess that will never change. Okay, so let's talk about culture and structure. Two fundamental areas within a business to keep things sustainable and, of course, progressing. So talk to me, how important is culture and structure in your teams?
I think the culture and the structure, they are both important. Yeah. First of all, of course, the culture comes first. Yeah, what we are, as we already discussed, trying also to find to look in candidates. Yeah, that people that come can also maintain and live the culture. What culture in general allows us actually to have less structure. I would say so even. Yeah. So this culture, we can be sure, okay, that people actually know how to act, where to set priorities, and what is important to us as a company, and we don't need to somehow to ensure it through too many meetings, processes, or alignment, or whatever. Yeah, but still, we are currently, for example, GotPhoto is now we're coming from, we were around 60, 80 people, and we will grow to 100, 200 people maybe in the next years. And we know, so it can have also influence on the culture, but also we need some sort of processes to also to grow sustainably. Yeah, so that will not just hire, but we also stay the same efficient and effective as we are. And for this, we are trying to look which processes are needed, how to organize it, which structures are needed, and already making the setup for the future already now. And in general, regarding structure and processes, I'm not a big fan to have too many processes, yeah, because when individuals, people, when they're working, actually, I think too many processes can actually kill innovation or creativity of the people. They just start to fall in because, okay, if I have a lot of the things, I have only time just to follow all the processes. That's why I'm always a bit reluctant to introduce new processes, but of course some of them are needed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I asked you that question, because it's really hard to balance sometimes. Culture and structure, both are very important. As you say, from my experience, people like to have freedom, but they also like to be led with some sort of structure. That's what, that's effectively why there is such thing as a leader. People, there's nothing wrong with being led. Just people, from my experience, don't want to be micromanaged, if that makes sense. So to a degree where they have no freedom for innovation at all, but to some degree, some form of structure. So they kind of know the path, and you allow them to travel it with their own freedom, is essentially what I was trying to get to. So yeah, very, very good point. So Vadim, what's your goals and ambitions for GotPhoto?
My goals, ambitions, basically to help the company to grow further. So we have ambitious company goals. on the photography business, because it's still the area where the digitalization level is still very low. Yeah, so a lot of photographers are still using the old ways of organizing the jobs on paper. Just sending around the post or stuff like this. Yeah, and so there is a big potential also to make the whole photography industry much better. Yeah? And here we see. Because our current product was developed mostly for one area of photography business, for volume photography. So there's photography at schools and kindergartens and so on. And currently, we see also that we need to develop it further for more areas, for example, for sports, for studio photographers, event photography. And for that, we need also to scale our teams. We currently have 6 teams and growing them, and that means also for us to find the right processes, still always to be well aligned, but still maintaining also autonomy of the teams, as you have mentioned, that the teams know what they're responsible for, and also that they're actually responsible for it intrinsically, from the thing that they want also to be responsible for this. And I think maintaining the balance would be my main task in the next years.
Nice goals. I'm also intrigued to sort of end it there. You've, as I say, very much early into your life as a CTO. Now that you've been there for 8-9 months as a CTO, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned that surprised you the most, that you didn't expect?
Actually, I think what I have learned, how people are actually flexible and intrinsically motivated. I was, because when I was starting this my managerial path, so I thought I need to do more, a little bit more. Everywhere, more also processes, more structures, maybe more definition, more strategies. And from my experience in the last time, I learned more and more that you need to be actually more like a shepherd for your teams. You need to create environment and more facilitate, And actually, in the past, I was a little bit even afraid. For me, it's like losing the control, But nowadays, which I now in the last months, which I have seen again, people are great. Just give the guidance and use the whole input for that coming from the people. And just shut up with your ideas, because still as a passionate engineer, I have, of course, a special technology side. I have tons of ideas, but it's better first to give people that ideas come from them, and then they're also more bound to these ideas, more motivated to execute on them, to bring them forward, than something that comes from above. And I think this is my main learning, and I'm still trying to be better on this. Not always succeeding, but I think I'm better and better.
I think that's great self-awareness for only 8 months into the CTO position, Vadim. And great. I look forward to following the journey of GotPhoto for the next 12 to 24 months, seeing where the company grows. I'm sure it'll be fantastic, and following your path directly as well, as we'll keep in contact. So I want to say thank you for joining me on the Startup Stories podcast. And I can't wait to keep following.
Thank you very much, Jordan.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Startup Stories. I hope you enjoyed hearing from our guests and learning more about their journey in the startup world. I'll be back soon with another exciting episode featuring a new guest, so make sure to subscribe to Startup Stories so you never miss an episode. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media for updates and additional content. And if you have any suggestions for guests or topics you'd like to hear about, please reach out to me. And as always, I appreciate your support and feedback. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.